This conference will now be recorded.
Okay. So guys, so we are offering this certifications. If anyone required certifications on Microsoft Azure and Power BI as well. So all kind of certifications are available. So if you have a certification, definitely it is good for you. Okay. So if anybody required, then just reach out 7997 457 228. Okay. So if you want, we will book a slot as well, and we will take care of that. Just we need your presence of 1 hour at the time of exam. Okay. So generally for data engineers has to do DP203 and Power BI DA 100. So these are the two certifications generally people will prefer to do the Azure Data Engineers DP203. Earlier it was 201 and 202, and they have combined those two and they are making as a 203, and this is 100. The exam booking cost is around 5,500 rupees booking cost. Okay. So for other formalities you can reach out this number. Okay, we need to pay for Microsoft for this exam 5,500 rupees. All right. Okay. So what I'm going to discuss today, some more transformation, some more activities whatever we have. Let me go to the data factory. See here, under the move transform we have discussed about the copy data activity and data flows we need to discuss, and go to the general activities. Under the general activities we have a append variable and delete activity, set variable, validation, web activity, and wait activity. The other activities, till now whatever the activities we have discussed is copy data activity, copying the data or the files or any objects, anything from one location to another. And get data activity we discussed. For each loop activity we have discussed, and filter activity we have discussed, and yesterday we discussed about the stored procedure activity and lookup activity, and today we are going to discuss about there are several other activities as well, like set variable activity and append variable activity, append variable, wait activity, delete activity, validation activity. Okay, validation activity, web activity, and execute pipeline activity, and execute SSIS package activity, and these are the general activities. And apart from that, iteration control. So we will discuss about if condition activity, if condition activity, and switch activity, until activity. Okay, so these, and notebook activity and use SQL activity. So these are all the activities and data flows. So these are the things we are going to discuss over here. All right, so let me discuss about this set variable activity. So what is this set variable activity? Set variable activity, so basically we are going to create some variables inside the Azure Data Factory. Let me take a new pipeline, and so what I'm trying to do, if you want to assign any values to a variable, okay, if you want to assign any value to a variable, you can use this set variable. So for example, see in your pipeline level, you have a variables concept. So let me create one variable. The variable name I'm going to give it as a file path or whatever that. And string, what is the value you want to assign? So the value I want to assign, whatever I'm getting from a table or from a lookup or whatever it is. So in that kind of situation, you can take set variable activity. So what kind of data types it will support? For variables, there are three kind of data types it will support: string, boolean, array. So for string and boolean data type, when you are taking to assign a value to this variable, you need to use set variable activity. You have a set variable activity. Where is this one? For example, if I am creating one more variable, that variable contains locations. So means I am going to store inside this variable more than single value like a array. Array contains more than one value. So when you are taking array data type, you need to keep inside this more than one value. More than one value. In that kind of situations, you need to take the array data type. If you want to assign more than one value into a variable with the data type of array, then you have to use the append variable activity. So what is the difference between set variable and append variable? Set variable activity will work on the variables with the data types string and boolean. Assigning a value. So what is a variable? Variable is just holding any values temporarily inside your pipeline. So that variable you can use somewhere. Assigning a value to a variable with the data type, assigning a value to a variable with the data type, assigning a value to a variable with the data type. What is the data type? That is a string or boolean. Any of these variables data types, we can use this set variable activity. Assigning a value to a variable with the data type array means more than one value we can assign over here. That is called append variable activity. Assigning a value to a variable with the data type more than one value, because this is the array data type. So something like it will store like this: location Hyderabad, comma Bangalore, comma Chennai. So this is how it is going to store the values. Got it? This is called append variable activity. So three values you are holding over here. If you want to assign a values to a variable with the data type, array data type, you need to use this one. Let's say, for example, by using get metadata activity, whatever the values we are getting. So let me take first scenario, like I will take one lookup activity. A lookup activity is going to return a value. What is the value it is returning? Last watermark value. last watermark value. So in that kind of situations, what you can do, simply take a lookup first. Lookup is going to read the last watermark value from your table, correct? So we have already developed that one in another pipeline. Go over here and where is our query? Yeah, this is my query. So you can go over here, go to the settings, take the data set already you prepared, right? What is that? DSSS target Azure table. Okay, so here you can put your query. So this query, what it will return? This is going to return the last watermark value. If you remember yesterday, when you, till what did you have loaded the data yesterday, you have saved inside this one. So this value, whatever we are returning, so I will give some proper name for this lookup. Last load value. Okay, last load value. So this value I want to assign into a variable. What is the variable you created? I'm going to make the variable name as last load. Okay, so there is no date time. Even that date time also you need to store inside this string data type only. So then take set variable activity. Take it over here and connect it. Okay, click on here, click on variables, click on last load, assign the value. So click on add dynamic content. What is the value you want to assign? I want to assign the lookup output. Lookup dot output dot first row. First row dot, what is the column name? The column name is watermark value. Then from the lookup activity, whatever the output is coming, the first row, first value, if it is getting more than single value, I am taking first value. Which value? Watermark value. Then click. Ready? So why we are keeping this value into a variable? The reason why we are keeping, let's say for example, I'm going to take two copy data activities. Two copy data activities. So first, this copy data activity needs to execute. Then one more copy data activity. After that, this has to execute. Okay. Let me go inside this copy data activity. Under the source, I'm going to take a data set, source data set, go to the query and add dynamic content. Are you able to see the lookup value? Because I want to use inside this copy data activity the lookup output, even in this copy data activity also. Okay, let me connect by removing this link. Sorry. Copy this, paste over here. Right. So if I am linking these two, then I can able to identify the lookup value. Go over here. You can able to identify that lookup value because we have connected. But what about this? What about this copy data activity? This will not find out, right? Are you going to come connect again? No, I don't want to combine. How to connect this one? So this is the flow actually. First this needs to execute, then this needs to execute, this needs to execute. But I need output. Whatever the output a lookup is returning, I want to use that in this copy data activity, in this copy data activity. You got my point? But you are able to connect to this one and you can able to use that output. But it is difficult to connect over here. How to use this one? So whatever the output is coming from the lookup activity, if you are storing inside one variable, that variable you can able to see anywhere. You can use anywhere in any lookup, any copy data activity. Let me go over here, Azure SQL source and select query and go over here, add dynamic content. See the variables you can able to see here. Last load. Right? So across, if you are assigning a value to a variable, you can use that across the entire pipeline in any of the activity you can use. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to assign a value whatever is coming from my lookup into this variable. How to assign? You need to select to which variable you want to assign and you can use value over here, and that is basically click on this output dot first dot whatever. So value is available inside this variable. So you can able to use this variable in any place in any. It is just temporarily holding the value whatever is coming from this lookup over here. So this is for set variable is for just assigning holding a single value. But I want to assign more than one value. More than one value. So how to do this one? Another example is all the file names coming from a get metadata activity. Take a get metadata activity and create a linked service or data set to your blob storage, delimited text files. Whatever the list of files I have in my blob storage, I am creating a linked service. Create it. Select the container. Click on input container. We don't have any files. No issues. Let me upload some files. Okay, let me go to the storage account. Go to the containers. Go to the input. Upload some files. So EMP Bangalore, EMP Chennai, EMP HY. Upload it. Okay. So 3 files uploaded. So now your get metadata activity is going to read all the file names from your, let me debug it. Okay, you need to specify the fields. What exactly you are trying to go to the arguments, child items. Now debug it. Alright, so output you can see, so still it is executing. Right, so it has returned 3 files are returned. Three files I want to, this list of array values, whatever child items are coming, I want to store inside a variable. All 3 values you want to store inside. So in that kind of situations, definitely you need to use a variable. That variable data type is a array data type. And to assign a values to this array data type variable, you need to use append variable. But one by one you need to append. Go to variables and name, file name. So you need to append one by one. So that means you need to execute this append variable activity. How many number of times? How many number of times you have? How many number of file names values you have? Those many number of times this append variable activity needs to be executed. That kind of situations you can take for each loop activity, because for each loop activity is going to simply connect over here. Okay, so this for each whatever we have, then go to the inside. So for each loop activity, how it is going to execute? So this is going to execute by taking the information from get metadata activity dot child items at the rate activity get metadata one dot output dot child items. Okay, so inside you can take append variable activity. So go to this append variable activity. Here under the variables, to which variable you want to assign? File name variable, because that is the array data type variable. So under the values, what are the values you are going to assign? Whatever the item names, written by your for each loop container dot names. So these values I want to assign into a variable. Let's see, debug it. Then this array data type variable you can use throughout your data, throughout your pipeline in any of the activity when you are going to use these values inside our variable. So how many times your append variable activity executed? 3 times, because it is going to assign each time values over here into your variable. Into a variable file name variable, values are assigned emp chennai.txt and append variable emp Bangalore. So what is the difference between parameters and variables? The difference between the parameters and variables, parameters are passing the values from outside at the time of executing the pipeline. Okay, variables are internally storing of the values. Okay, internally storing of the values. Variables are internally storing of the values. You cannot pass any value to variable directly from outside. Let's say, for example, if I'm creating a parameter, see here, I'm creating a parameter like file name. Okay, so when you are going to debug it, it is asking to send what value you want to give this parameter. If you're not providing a value, you cannot execute this one, because the parameters will expect the value at the time of executing. But variables internally you can use for temporary storage, and you can use that values across your pipeline. Okay, so the next activity is wait and delete activity. So wait activity is very simple. Sometimes when you are going to execute, one second guys. So wait activity is just your execution of your activities, your pipeline will hold some time. Okay, will hold some time. Let's say for example, before I'm going to start this execution, I want to hold some time like by using wait activity. Click on wait activity. So how many number of seconds you want to hold on this one? Simply you can use this one. Okay, so if you are putting 1 second, then it is going to wait 1 second. Or if you are putting 3 seconds, let's see the debug, the wait activity is going to wait 3 seconds. Then only it will proceed to the next one. 3 seconds it is going to wait. Okay, see here. If you are increasing 6 seconds, then again debug it. Just wait activity is holding some time your pipe. So before I'm going to start executing of this pipeline, before I'm going to start the execution of this pipeline, what I want to do, I want to verify whether files available in my storage account, then only I want to execute. Otherwise I don't want to execute. Understand? So in that kind of situations, what you can do, you can take a validation activity. What the validation activity will do? Validation activity is going to validate based on your data set. Let me go to a data set. So select, already we have created one container level data set. So what you are trying to do, inside this data set, see your input, and in this container, whatever the files we have, if you are selecting the child items, ignore, check if the folder exists only. Means whether that container, whatever you specified here, this input container is available or not, it will check. Okay, if you are selecting ignore, check if the folder exists only or not. Inside that folder, whether files existing or not, it don't mind. It will just check whether there is a folder, whatever you specified in your data set, up to what level is specified, input. So this input folder is available or not, it will verify. If that input folder is available, then it will go and proceed. True means if you are selecting true and check if the folder exists and has items on it. So the second condition is there should be this input container, and also whatever the files you are going to specify inside this one, or that folder contains any files or not, it will check. If input folder contains and items should available inside that, then only it is going to execute over here. False if you are selecting, check if the folder exists and that is empty, means it is a folder should be available, and inside that folder, the container, there should not be any files. That means it should be empty, then only it will go and proceed. Three conditions you can check. The first condition is a folder available or not. Yes, if it is available, go ahead and proceed to execute. The second one is a folder should be available and also some files needs to be available inside that container, then only it will go and execute next. And false. False means a folder should be available but it should not contain any files, then only it needs to be executed. So whichever the condition you required, then based on that you are going to proceed. Let's say for example, I need this condition. What is the condition? There should be a folder and there should be a files, then only I want to execute further activities. Let me debug it. So I have a folder, input folder, yes, and there should be some files also, yes. Right. See, there is a container. Inside that container, we have a files. Okay, let me, for example, if it is not identifying a files inside this one, then what do you want to do? So I want to wait 10 seconds, and then again I want to reattempt. Okay, wait 10 seconds, and I want to reattempt to verify after 10 seconds whether there is a file or not. And what is the timeout? Timeout means it will do for every 10 seconds and till 7 days. Till 7 days it is going to do this attempt. After 7 days it will fail this one. Okay, so let's say for example I want to remove the files whatever I have. So simply you can go over here, delete all the files, then click on delete the snaps. Yeah, now can we run it? So this, I have selected this one. Check if the folder exists and has items in it. I don't have items, so it should not execute. Child items true means there should be some items, but it doesn't contain any items. So that is the reason it is not processing further. So this is how you can use a validation activity to verify whether there is a files and folders available. Then only I want to execute. Otherwise, unnecessarily, why you are going to execute your entire pipeline without having any files over there? Okay. So when I have a files inside my container, I want to delete those files. Why do you want to delete? I want to put a condition more than 1 week or last 1 week, any files I want to remove from this container. So upload the files. So how to identify which files you need to delete? How you know what are the files last 1 week back files? Any files greater than 1 week or from the last 1 week. So in a specific time duration, any files available inside this container, I want to delete. Understand? So based on this last modified date, you can able to delete. Even when you are using get metadata activity, get metadata activity is going to take all the files, right, in a folder. Do you want to restrict that? So simply you can go to get metadata activity. You have a condition over here. What files you want to take? What are the file names? Child items means file names it is fetching, right? If you want to filter by last modified date, so whatever the date you are specifying here, in between those two dates only any files available. So based on this last modified date, only those files it is trying to filter over here. Only those files it is going to filter over here. Right? So similarly, I want to delete some files based on a condition. The condition is in between a particular dates, I want to delete. So now we can go to e-classes over here, take a copy data activity, delete activity. So I want to connect. At the ending, I want to delete. Okay. So simply click on this delete. Go to the source, data sets, delimited text one. But inside this, yeah. So inside this container, whatever the files you have, between two dates. Let me, for example, from today onwards, back 1 week. Okay. From today onwards, back 1 week, I want to delete. So end date you can put today, and start date you can put 1 week back. So let me first, how to get the today date? Dynamically you need to put. If you are putting today 19th, tomorrow also it is trying to filter out only up to 19th only. So what is the date we have? We have UTC now. So this will give you the current timestamp, and I want to make it 1 week back. So how to do? Go to add dynamic. So take again this UTC now. Okay. For this I want to make 1 week back, means 7 days back. So what is the function we have to make minus 7 days? Date add function. Add to time. Add days function you can use. So what the add days function will do? It is going to add minus 7 days. Okay. So I'm going to add days to this current time, whatever we have. How many days? Minus 7 days. Then click OK. So it is trying to filter out from today onwards. 7 days back over here. From today onwards, 7 days back over here. Clear? Let me debug it. Okay, so whatever you are deleting, the deleted log information where you want to store. So I'm going to store inside this Azure same blob storage only in input. So if you want to create another folder, you can, and you can store it in the same place. I'm going to store the deleted files as well. So logging information. So if you don't want to log this, then just disable it, because whatever you are deleting, that information you need to store somewhere, the deleted, because in future if you want to recover that one, I don't want to maintain any logging, just disable that option, then click on debug. Okay, so wait activity, delete validation activity. So this web activity, we can use the scenario to send email notification. To send email notification, we can use this one. Execute pipeline, execute package activities. That is a different scenario we can discuss. So I will cover this web activity. And execute pipeline means simply if you want to call another pipeline inside another pipeline. So I'm going to use this execute pipeline. Which pipeline? I have two pipelines, incremental loading pipeline and this pipeline. So inside this pipeline one, I want to call another pipeline to execute. Which pipeline? Incremental loading pipeline. So this activity will execute this incremental loading pipeline. That is called executing another pipeline. Executing another pipeline from one pipeline. So we are using this one. Execute SSIS package is a different scenario we are going to discuss. Lift and shifting of SSIS packages from on-premises to cloud environment. See if condition switch until, these are the different scenarios I will discuss. So this execute this web sending email notification and this activities I will discuss tomorrow. And execute SSIS packages and anything rest I will discuss in another scenario. So this is, we are doing slowly changing dimension mechanism. I will discuss this one, like incrementally loading the data by using different transformation, by using different transformations. Okay, so difference between this is one session required, definitely not one, two sessions required, and all these things required two more sessions, 2 plus 1, 2 plus 2, 4 sessions required for those. And then after we have to discuss Azure key vaults. So this web activity we are going to use along with the logic apps. So logic apps also we will discuss in one of the scenarios. Then after, like triggers and monitor and Git repository, deployment of the ARM templates with CI/CD release pipelines. So these are all the things we are going to discuss. Okay, so let's meet tomorrow. We'll continue. So anybody required the certification, just reach out the number.